Evening, dear children.
Good evening, sir.
Today, children, in the previous class, we actually learned about compound interest, right? Sorry. So, yeah, we learned about compound interest where I taught you a very simple formula. Sorry. Yeah, I taught you a very simple formula that was total amount is equal to principal multiplied by 1 plus R upon N. Okay, obviously R means rate of interest, which means along with N, there should be multiplied by 100 also, well, in the denominator, because it is percentage multiplied by NT. Okay, where T is time taken, or maybe I'll say tenure, and N is in both places. N is basically number of times compounded, or maybe interest calculated in an year. Well, in 1 year, how many times is the interest calculated? That is the basic logic of this particular term. Okay. Now, today we'll be starting with the worksheet. Let me just open the worksheet for you guys. Okay. So this is a combined worksheet for compound interest and quadratic equation. Just a minute. I think quadratic equation was the previous chapter. Yeah, since we have already solved uh, questions for quadratic equation, we don't have to solve questions for quadratic equation from this particular worksheet. So for this particular worksheet, I'll be selecting few questions from this worksheet and then I'll be solving them. Okay. First one. First one is question number 3. I won't be solving this question because this is from quadratic. I won't be solving this question because this is also from quadratic. I'll be solving the third question because it is from compound interest. So I'll be solving only those questions which belongs to compound interest. Okay. Now, compound interest on a certain sum for 2 years at 20% per annum is 1540. The simple interest on the same sum for double the time at half rate per annum will be how much? So we have to find how much will be the simple interest. Sorry. So the whole concept, in case of simple interest is very much sorted. It's not complicated like compound interest. Okay. So when they are saying that the time is doubled, okay, time is doubled, and the rate is half. So basically, this double and half gets cancelled because the simple interest formula is P R N upon 100. Now, simple logic. Let me say the first interest is P R N upon 100. The second interest is P. Rate of interest is doubled. So R multiplied by 2 I'll write. N is what? Time. Time is half. So N divided by 2 I'll write upon 100. So when you think about it, this 2 and 2 gets cancelled. And the end result is what? It's basically P R N upon 100. So which means this second interest is basically equal to the first interest. So uh, in this case, what I'm trying to say is, in the second case, they have actually काफी घुमा फिरा के बताया है कि क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पर. But the concept is very simple. In second case also, you simply consider simple interest for the same period for the same interest. Okay. Basically, their question is to find the difference between compound interest and simple interest for two particular years. Now, in this case, obviously, there is one method of solving and trying out, but I'll give you a very simple method. First of all, what they are asking is how much is the simple interest is what they are asking. अब सीधी सी बात है compound interest. If the compound interest is 1540, then the simple interest will be less than 1540, which means you can directly eliminate 2800. है ना? Secondly, the difference between compound interest and simple interest will be very less because only 2 years का time period है ये. Okay. Now, I hope you know what happens in case of compound interest and simple interest. You have the logic. For example, if the let me say if 100 rupees ka principal it is, if in case of simple interest, first year simple interest is 10, compound interest is 10. Second year simple interest is again 10, but the compound interest for the second year will be 11. So there is a difference of 1 rupees between simple interest and compound interest. So what I'm trying to say is the difference is very small as compared to the difference is very small between compound and simple because it's only 1 year. Third, second year, मतलब next year की तरफ जाएंगे. So simple interest still remains 10, but the compound interest becomes 12.1. So what happened? जैसे साल बढ़ा, difference बढ़ गया. If the year again progresses, the compound interest becomes more. So compound interest increases year by year every time, whereas simple interest remains the same. So if I'm speaking about just the tenure of 2 years, so the difference between them is very small. You should understand that. Now, what should that difference be? Let me try to figure this out. Now, first of all, I'm very clear that 2800 is definitely not my answer. And I know that my simple interest will be less than 1540, but not very less, which means 700 is also not my answer. It is either 1400 or 1500, either or. So let me consider 1400 and check whether it is matching the situation or not. That is, if 2 years may, mm, yeah, so simple interest for 2 years, if I'm considering it as 1400, which means simple interest for 1 year should be 700, right? Now, logically speaking, चलो 1 year में interest अगर 700 है first year, interest simple interest will also be 700 and compound interest will also be 700. If you think about second year, the simple interest remains 700, but the compound interest में क्या होता है? ये simple interest के ऊपर भी interest लग जाता है. Now, how much is rate of interest? Rate of interest is 20%. So the compound interest will be 700 plus 20% of the first year's interest. The first year's interest. That is 700. So that gives you Um, I'll cancel this 140 rupees. That gives you 840 rupees. So in the first year, the interest was 700. In the second year, the interest will be 840. So total simple interest after 2 years for the simple interest will be 700 plus 700, that is 1400. And compound interest will be 700 plus 840, 1540. Yes. While considering 1400 to be the simple interest, the compound interest can be 1540. Yes. But that means 1400 is my correct answer. Instead of considering 1400, if you would have considered 1500, you would not have got the correct answer. I'll show you. Not a problem. I can give you a demo. Okay. So 1500 को अगर दो में divide करेंगे, which means first year में it was 750 and the second year was also 750. So the simple interest cut total will be 1500. Now let me check the compound interest. First year, definitely it will be 750. The second year will be 750 plus 20% of 750. That gives you 150. 750 plus 150 gives you 900. So 750 plus 900 gives you 1650. So if my simple interest for 2 years is 1500, then the compound interest will be 1650, which is not matching with my original figure. Therefore, this will not be my answer. Only 1400 will be my answer. Okay. So this is a logical approach which I have given you. So using formula, how can we solve? So just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah. So yeah, this is a logical approach which I can give you. Now, definitely there is one more approach, formula method, but formula methods are better. This if this logical approach is good, will do good for you. That's why I've given you. Yes, Naitik, tell me your doubt. Naitik, tell me.
Yes, sir. I didn't understand for the second year in the simple interest how you calculated it, and for if it goes on till third year, then what should be the process?
Okay, so first of all, simple interest every year will be same. So if in the first year it is 700, every year it will be 700. Second year, third year, fourth year. Okay. Only what changes is the compound. Just a minute.
Sir, I didn't understand compound only. I said simple interest, but
Okay, just a minute. Okay, so the compound interest. Okay, the compound interest, how does it work? It's like whatever is your see compound interest, how does it work? Whatever principal you have, uska bhi 20%. 20% means rate of interest because the rate of interest is given as 20%. Okay, whatever principal you have, uska rate plus how much ever interest you have, uska rate. This is the formula for compound interest. In the first year there is no interest developed already, मतलब extra अभी तक कोई interest आया नहीं. This is the first time the interest is going to come. Hence in this case the compound interest is basically principal का rate of interest, which is nothing but 700 rupees. Do you understand so far?
sir,
Okay. Now in the second year what happens, the principal is already there जिसका 700 rupees is the interest. Apart from that previous year में कुछ interest भी आया है, that interest का भी interest निकालना पड़ेगा. Understood?
Yes, sir.
In this case, previous year's interest is how much? 700. उसका interest निकालना पड़ेगा. Now your question was for third year, what would happen? Simple interest still remains 700. Now in case of compound interest, what happened? For principal, the interest remains 700 plus टोटल इंटरेस्ट अब तक जो निकला है उसके ऊपर वापस इंटरेस्ट लगेगा. सो अब तक टोटल इंटरेस्ट कितना निकला है? इट इज 1540. सो उसके ऊपर वापस इंटरेस्ट लगेगा. दैट विल बी 1540 मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 20%. अंडरस्टूड?
Sir, I didn't understand for the 700 plus 20% to 700. I understand the logic that you gave above P into R plus R percent plus I into R percent. But after that,
You
how
simply
did you
substitute
calculate
it.
only for
This
CI?
this P into R percent is 700 in this case. Hence, I've written 700. So far, it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Huh. Plus I into R percent. I in this case is 700 multiplied by R is 20. Hence, 700 by 20% plus डाल के. Understood?
Okay. So you just did P into R percent is 700. Then
हाँ.
I into R percent. So you did 700 into 20%. But why
Correct.
did you add it?
Because that is the basic concept of compound interest, my dear child. इस chapter के in your textbook, the definition of compound interest says, in case of compound interest, the interest is calculated for the principal as well as the previous interest. So you have to add both of them. That's the definition of compound interest. Okay. Hello.
Sir, I understood, sir.
Okay. So every time you have to do that. Every time you have to in take the interest of principal, that is P into R percent. Then add it with the interest of interest of the previous interest, that is I into R percent. Okay.
Yes, sir. For the third year, we have to take total I and
Yes.
in percent. Okay, sir.
Yes. Then then
Yes, sir.
you will
Understood.
get the total I. So this will give you some value. Okay. 1540 by 20% is 308. Okay, 308 it is. 308 plus 700 will give you 1008. 1008 plus 1540 gives you total interest after 3 years to be 3548. This will be the total interest after 3 years. Do you understand this?
Yes, sir. So
Uh,
for fourth year, it should be 700 plus 3548 into 20 by 100.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, sir.
Understood?
Thank you. Understood.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, third. Tell me. Sorry, not
Sir,
3548. My bad.
I
It should be
also had a doubt.
2548. Tell me, what was your doubt?
Sir, if all the four options are so very like similar to each other, then what do we do?
Mm, See, in your case, generally it doesn't happen. But I, sorry, just a minute. Sorry. Okay, I'll give you a rough estimation formula. So whatever value you have, this is total interest for 2 years, right? Am I correct or not? Now,
Yes, sir.
logically speaking, the difference between simple interest and compound interest, it is basically the rate of interest of first year's interest. Am I correct or not? This is the difference between them, logically speaking. Am I correct? Did you
Sir,
understand this
won't
logic?
it be for the second year?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is for 2 years only.
Okay, sir. Understood.
Total 2 years, may the difference between simple interest and compound interest is basically the rate of interest of the first year's interest. Am I correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Hmm. So, if you think like that, so so how to solve this case? I'll tell you. Just a minute. Let me make some space to solve. Rough estimated value I'm telling you. So 2 years interest is 1540. So you make it half to find the first year's interest. Okay. Now the first year's interest or maybe 1 year's interest will be 1540 ka half. So first year's interest, sorry, first year's interest will be not equal to, less than the half of 1540. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So in this case, it will be 770. So first year's interest will be definitely less than 770. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir. For
ठीक
compound interest, yes, sir.
है. For compound interest, yes, it will be less than 770. Now I don't know how much it is. Let me. So what do you do? Take a round figure, or maybe ठीक है, you consider 770 only. So now the difference between CI and SI is basically the rate of interest of the first year's interest. So what is the rate of interest of 770? 770 pay when you multiply 20%. That is the rate of interest. How much you should get? So difference between CI and SI should be less than the rate of interest 770 multiplied by 20%. It should give you 1440 divided like 144, right? Yeah, 144. So the overall concept is the difference between compound interest and simple interest should be less than how much? 144. Do you understand this?
Yes, sir.
हाँ. So अभी देखना कि भाई compound interest is 1540. So the whatever simple interest you have, it should be somewhere around मतलब lesser than this by 144 or maybe a little bit closer value. So if you see 1400 or 1540 के बीच का difference is 140 and the difference between these two numbers it is 100. So when you think about this, this one both are less than 144. Agreed. But this 140 is closer to 144. So first I'll give a try for 144, 1400. And the next try I will give to this guy. Do you understand?
Okay, sir, got it.
Huh. That means if you had one more thing, for example, the next option was 1300. You could have easily said that the difference between them is the difference is how much in this case? It's 240, which is definitely not fitting my case. My difference should be less than 144. So I can directly ignore 1300. If this number was, let's say, 1450, nahin, sorry, yeah, 1450, then I would have said, हाँ, इनके बीच का difference is somewhere around what? 1450 and 1540, it's 90. So इनके बीच का difference is 40. Yeah. So इनके बीच का difference is 90. So again, my closest number is 140, closest to 144. So I would have first tried 1400. If 1400 was not working, then I would have tried 1450 because the difference is 90. The second closer. If this was not working, then only I would have tried 1500, which has the least difference. Do you understand this?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yes,
So, sir, we
Gargi.
have to
Yeah.
try it in the order from where it is closest to the 144.
Correct. So this
Okay.
144, how did you get? You basically इसको हाफ के 1540 को आपने हाफ किया एंड देन वो हाफ वैल्यू का 20% या रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट जो है वो रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट निकाला. वॉट एवर वैल्यू ऑफ गॉट योर डिफरेंस विल बी लेस देन दैट वैल्यू. दैट इज फॉर श्योर.
Okay, sir.
ओके. या. गार्गी, टेल मी
Sir,
व्हाट्स योर क्वेरी.
So I joined a bit late, so we are in the third question. We finished the first two questions, right?
No, Gargi. The first two questions are from quadratic equation. Since we have already done a worksheet for quadratic equation, I'll not be repeating that. Okay. Now this particular worksheet consists of two topics, quadratic equation and compound interest. So I'll be solving only compound interest from here.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
sir. Yeah, thank you.
Naitik, tell me.
sir, how did you get the formula 2y CI minus SI is R% of first year?
It is less. Acha, how did I get that formula? Okay. It's basically a logical approach, my dear child. See, in the first year, CI and SI are same. So the difference between them is nothing. In the second year, CI may be 700 and SI may be 700 है, but CI में एक additional component है which is R% of the first year's interest. So whatever is extra, that is basically the difference.
Yes, sir.
Understood? Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build logical approach in you guys. Everything can be solved by formula. That is true. But solving by formula is something, it's a very common practice. Some things we can try by logic as well. So लॉजिक का कोई ऐसा फिक्स्ड रूल नहीं होता यू हैव टू थिंक लाइक दिस ओनली यू हैव टू थिंक लाइक दैट ऐसा कोई रूल नहीं होता इट डिपेंड्स ऑन सिचुएशन some situation might dictate some other logic some situation might dictate this logic that logic ऐसा logic depends on situation to situation so you can definitely take a call you if you feel कि हाँ भाई ये problem can be solved by three different logics you decide which logic to go further pick one logic go for it because all are correct okay.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. So for this the correct answer is option 4. Now let me just feed this. Okay. The fourth one looks like a quadratic problem. Yep. Let's go for the fifth one now. What would be the compound interest after 2 years on 1,500 rupees at 10% per annum? You can directly use the formula or maybe use the logic, whichever sounds better to you. Now, 10% is very simple. So, I would have gone for the logical approach. For the first year, my sorry, for the first year, my interest will be 150. For the second year, my interest will be 150 plus 10 percentage of the old interest. That is 50. So the total value will be 315. That's it. Do you understand this? Hmm.
Can you repeat once?
Sure. Now this question, since it is only about 2 years and the rate of interest is also very handy, 10 percentage means what? Remove one zero. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the logical approach. For the first year, at 10 percentage, the interest will be 150. That is 1,500 ka 10%. That is 150. For the second year, again 1,500 ka 10%, 150 still remains. Plus previous interest का 10 percentage also comes over here. So previous interest was 150, uska 10 percentage is 15. So when you add them, the total interest on the second year is 165. The previous one was 150. Total interest after 2 years will be 315. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Proceeding further. Seventh question. Albert invested an amount of rupees 8,000 in a fixed deposit scheme for 2 years at compound interest rate of 5% per annum. How much will Albert get on maturity of the fixed deposit? Again, same logic. So it's 5%, not a big deal. 5% means what? मतलब mental math में I would have done, I would first remove a zero and then make it half. When I remove a zero, it becomes 10 percentage. When I make it half, it becomes 5%. So in the first year, I'll get how much interest? 400, right? Yes. The second year, I'll get 400 plus 5 percentage of the old interest. That is 40 ka 5 percentage. Again, remove a zero, make it half. It's 20. So total 820 will be my interest. So my principal was 8,000. 8,000 plus 820 is 8820. Your answer is option 3. Any doubt?
sir.
Okay, proceeding further. Eighth question. Compound interest on a certain sum for 2 years at 10% per annum is 1050. What would be the simple interest for the same period? So again, it's a similar question which we have already done, right? So first of all, my simple interest will definitely not be greater than 1050 or not be equal to 1050. So this option is definitely eliminated. And this 500 is almost half of 1050. So I am directly going to eliminate this as well. So my doubt is between 1000 and 1005. It's either of them. Okay. Now how to go for it? So I would have, I would see that, okay, fine, this 105 looks difficult. 1000 looks easier. Let me try 1000. If it is working, this is my answer. If it is not working, definitely the other one is my answer. Hey, Kenny. So I'll go for it. So for simple interest, if 1000 is my simple interest, so for the first year, the simple interest for the first year is 500, and for the second year is also 500, which means the total simple interest is how much? 1000. In the same logic, when I go for compound interest, the first year it's obviously 500. The second year will have 500 plus कितना percentage है ये? 10 percentage plus 10 percentage of the previous interest, which means 50. So total value is 1050, which is matching with my question 1050. Hence, I'll say this is my answer. Understood? Okay. So our meeting is about to end. So we'll do one thing. We'll exit the meeting and join again. Okay.